Hello, welcome to my desktop. In my last video, I showed you how to get started with the basics of PowerPoint. Now it's time to create your first presentation. My name is Dr. Denise Buxton, and my goal is to help you present with clarity and to lead with confidence. In this video, we're going to create a short presentation, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Let's get started. Now we're ready to start building our first PowerPoint presentation. So the first thing we need to do is start with the title. The title of this presentation is going to be called Improving Team Communication, and that's what I'm going to add here. And for the subtitle, I'm just going to put my name because I'll be presenting this presentation to the team. The second slide for me for a presentation like this is always an agenda slide. It's the slide I'm going to add next. And to do that, I'm going to go up here in the ribbon to where you see new slide, insert new slide. And I'm going to choose from one of these layouts. And so for this one, I'm just going to keep it simple for this presentation and just click title with content. And that slide looks like this. So I have to click a title in here and I can add text. So for this title, I'm going to call this agenda. And these are the topics that I'm going to be discussing in my team meeting. I have 3 agenda items that I want to cover in this meeting. When I have my agenda items nailed down, creating the rest of the presentation usually goes pretty smoothly. The next 3 slides need to cover each of these topics. So you need a slide for common communication challenges, you need a slide for simple strategies for better communication, and a slide for key takeaways. So let's create those next slides. Do you remember how we add a slide? Okay, you go up to New Slide in the ribbon on the Home tab. And then from the drop down, you click a new slide. And we're going to do another slide that looks just like this one, title and content. And we already have the title because we have it in our agenda. So make sure that your slides, your next 3 slides, match the wording that you have in the agenda so that your audience can follow along with the presentation. And you can check your spelling as you are working, or you can wait till the end to check it. On this slide, guess what I'm going to add? I'm going to add 3 things I want to discuss about common communication challenges. And so now just add another slide to cover the key takeaways. And we're just going to use the same layout for this. And then I'm going to add 3 more bullet points. I work in 3s because that's usually enough to cover on a slide and it's not too overwhelming for your audience. You know, I skipped a slide. For my agenda, I covered common communication challenges and I covered key takeaways. But I did not cover simple strategies for better communication. I need to add that slide. So I'm just going to go and add a new slide. I'm just going to put 3 points on this slide that I want to cover as well. All right, so I have added this slide that I forgot. And let's see, starting from the top, let's review what we have. We have this first slide with our title and our name, and have the second slide with the agenda. So we're supposed to cover common communication challenges, simple strategies for better communication, key takeaways in that order. But since I had to add that slide towards the end, they're not in order anymore. This slide 5 should be below slide 3. And so that's a simple fix. We're just going to click and hold slide 5, drag it up to under. You see the red line there? That means that's where you're going to place it. You're going to place it right under that slide and let go. And now those slides are in order. And that is all the content we're going to have for this presentation, just to get you acclimated with how to use the slides and some of the functions. So the next thing we're going to do is I recommend that you go back through the presentation again and then add slide notes for each slide. If you remember from the interface video, slide notes are notes to you, the speaker, about what you want to say about this slide or what kind of points you want to remember while discussing. For example, on this first slide, I can add some slide notes that say, you can say something like, "Hi team, today we're going to discuss how to improve our team communication." And just go back as you see your slides and just add notes that you think are relevant to what you want to say here. You can do that as you're building your presentation, or you can do it towards the end. I usually like to build a presentation and then go back and put in my notes about what I want to say about the slide in more detail. After adding slide notes, let's go ahead and apply a theme to this presentation. Right now it's currently plain and white. We don't want to leave it like this. We want to make sure that it looks more professional. So I'm going to apply a theme by going up to the Design tab on the ribbon. And then I'm just going to test out some of the things to see how your presentation will look. If you have brand colors for your company that you're with, you may want to stick to a theme that has those colors in it. Notice when I click on these themes, the Designer tab shows up on the right, and I have other options for the slides. I like the first slide, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And I think I'm going to choose this one for the agenda. And then you just go through your presentation and decide how you want to enhance it with the different themes. Once you're done choosing the design that you want or using the design suggestions, do a spell check. And then the last thing is to review everything in slideshow mode. Overall, I'm pleased with this presentation, but there are still a few changes that I would like to make to some of the slides. Let's take a look at those changes. On this first slide, the issue that I want to fix is the spacing. Between improving and team, there's a blank space, so I'm just going to delete that space. And I also want it to be centered a bit, so I'm going to highlight the text and click the center key. And then I'm also going to center my name on the slide as well. Center a bit more. I may have to do some modifications. I want everything to be towards the center, and I also want a space. Okay, so that looks better to me. So this is how the final slide 1 is going to look. That looks better. Moving on to slide 2, I'm going to clarify what type of agenda this is. This is going to be a team meeting agenda, not just a plain agenda. It's always a best practice to be very specific in your titles. So that's the only change I want to make on slide 2. And then slide 3, this slide looks a little different from the other slides. I want to make it consistent with the way the other slides look. You notice on this slide that for the title, it's a red circle with the words, but to make it consistent with the other slide, I just want it to be a text-based title. So I'm going to open the Designer tab and locate a slide that's similar to the slides that we already have. I'm going to scroll down and see which slide it matches better with the theme that we already have for the other slides. And it looks like this slide is going to be a better choice. But another change that I want to make on this slide is, you notice on this slide that all of the text is in all caps. I don't want that. I want it to be more like this with just the words being capitalized. I'm going to do the same thing for the remaining words. So I did that, but I'm going to make another change with that. I don't want the O of to be capitalized, so I'm just going to change that myself. That looks much better to me. And moving on to the fourth slide. So the issue here for me is that these are all sentences. Since they are sentences, they all should have punctuation. So I am going to make everything consistent on this slide and put periods after each sentence. Now, I think this slide looks pretty clean. On this final slide, the same thing here with the punctuation. Clear communication improves teamwork is a sentence, so I'm going to add a period. Feedback prevents confusion is a sentence. I'm going to add a period. And simplicity is effective, so I added a period there as well. And so that's all consistent. And after I've made those changes, I'm going to review over the presentation again. But before I finalize it, I'll just repeat those steps that I gave you prior. I will just do a spell check on it, check it out in slideshow mode again, and just go through a checklist to make sure everything that I want to cover is in the presentation. So what do you think? Do you think the presentation is complete? Would you have added something else? I want to know your thoughts. You're done with creating your first presentation. This is the method I use all the time. It's a simple way of creating a clear, professional presentation. At the end of the tutorial, I mentioned for you to use a checklist as you're working through your presentation. I've created that checklist for you. It's available on my website, which is linked in the description box below. There are variations of the method I covered today on how to create a professional PowerPoint presentation that accounts for differences in audiences and purposes. In the next video, I'll share more about those variations as well as how to structure a PowerPoint presentation. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.